Welcome to No Excuses. My name is Mary Fran, and I am here to talk to you about life. So much in life makes up who we are. And today we're going to talk about the books because I love to read. And this past week, I actually read 3 books, and I'm going to share them with you today. So here we go. The first book is called The Boy Who Followed His Father into Auschwitz. This is a true story. It starts with a family in Vienna, Austria, who are being persecuted, and very, very early on, like in the 30s, the father and son of the family are taken by the Nazis, and they are put into a camp. And while they were separated at first, they somehow miraculously found each other during a march to a camp a couple weeks after they were taken. And they actually were able to remain, if not together, at least in contact over their time in concentration camps. They actually were in concentration camps from the very beginning until the very end. They actually moved around from different camps. And for most of that time, they were actually in the same camp up until like the last literally couple months. The book is a testament to love because at one point the father was being sent to Auschwitz. And it was, kind of a sure death thing. And the son was like, not leaving without my father. And people in the camp were actually telling him, you have to choose to let him go. You have to choose to let them go, even though you love them, so that you can live. And the boy was like, that's not what my heart is. And so he followed his father into Auschwitz. And it's an amazing story. It talks very, very heavily about what life was like in Buchenwald and Auschwitz and numerous other camps because they did it. He actually talks about, finding a trade and how they managed to survive. And it was a very, very good book, not just for the whole eyewitness account of being in a concentration camp, but also the testament of friendship, the testament of life and love. And, there was a couple times that he actually made the comment, like when he got moved to a different camp, the one without his father, he was like, this is really hard when I don't have my father and my friends because they are what helped him survive. And as I said, they actually survived for the whole complete war in a concentration camp. They said that some of these concentration camps, the average person lived 4-5 months, and these men lived the whole time. It was a very good book. I highly recommend it. It is actually one of my nonfictions. I'm doing really good with nonfiction books this year, so I'm really happy with myself. But it was a really good book. I would rank this probably a 4. You know me, 3 is a solid book. I don't rank books 4 very often. Yeah, this was a 4 for me. Just touched my soul. So, yeah. So the next book I'm going to talk about that I read last week was When We Were Friends. This book was a short read. It was very easy to read. It was a little predictable. It's about a lady who has just gone through a divorce. She's struggling to find herself, to find friends, and to get back out in the world because, you lose friends, your friendships shift and adjust when you divorce, a lot of things like that. And she meets a lady who they just mesh and they meet and they are like best buds and everything is going great. Until, well, it doesn't go great. And even after it doesn't go great, this lady misses her friend. And, yeah. I'm not going to tell you. My purpose is not to actually tell you what the book is about. My purpose is to tease you so that you want to read it or warn you away if you don't want to read it. Like a couple weeks ago, I gave you some that are like, don't do it. This book was actually a good read. I would recommend it. It is a good book. And I loved how at the end, the main character had the choice. She had the choice of doing something that she wanted desperately or doing something that she knew was good for her soul and her mind and her own growth as a person. And yeah, I like the fact that they made that very, very clear. And I like how it ended because she shows she values herself. And I think that's really important because I think so much in our world right now, we have lost the value of ourselves. And it was good to see. And, if you want to equate this to weight loss, which I'm always trying to do, isn't the value of myself what should be pushing me to work to lose weight, to work to be the healthiest version of me? I would rank this book a solid 3. It was a solid book. I have no complaints. It was nowhere spectacular to make it to a 4 or 5. Definitely a good book. I had no problem reading it. I didn't want to put it down. So it was just a really good book. So recommend this one too. Are we going to have 3 for 3 this week? Let me know in the comments if you think I'm going to have 3 for 3. 3 goods and no bads. Anyway, have you done it? Because it's time to talk about that third book. The third book is actually another nonfiction. I know, what's up with me? And it was called 12 Trips in 12 Months. And this book was very interesting. It was about a lady who, by looking on the outside, you would have thought she had it all together. But, some things were missing. Zoe, this dog is driving me crazy. So this book is about a lady who, by all accounts, has it all together. She's got a job that we would all normally think is an envious job. Life is good. She's doing great. And she has some problems. She desperately wants to find love. And she has a boyfriend and she plans a trip over New Year's with him and everything is going good. And then he ghosts her. And if you don't know what ghost means, that's somebody that's talking to you and all of a sudden, poof, they're gone. They have done a ghost. And she was like, well, what am I going to do? Because I have tickets to Times Square and, I have tickets to go to New York City and Times Square. And I don't want to be in Times Square when the ball drops because who am I going to kiss? What am I going to do? And that's just too depressing. So she actually cancels those plans and she sets herself up to go on vacation by herself. And she has a fabulous time. And during that vacation, she comes up with the harebrained idea that she is going to travel 12 trips in 12 months. And the very, very first thing that I liked about this book is because she actually addressed the fact of how am I going to pay for this? Because while she had a job that very well could be envious, she also had debt from college. And so she didn't have a whole lot of expendable money. So she actually talks about what she did to be able to afford this, which I thought was refreshing because I don't know about you, but how many times do you watch a YouTube channel about people that are traveling and doing this and all of that? And you get there and you're like, but how are you paying for it? How did you do it? How did you start? Yeah, I know you might be making money now off of this, but how did you start? Because in my world, I can't just pick up and go buy an RV and start traveling because that takes an investment. You have to have money coming in to be able to afford to stay in an RV park. You have to have money to afford to buy the gas and whatever. So I'm always intrigued with the whole thought of how did you start this? How did you afford this? And this lady tells you, which I thought was refreshing. Very, very refreshing. And she does. And she actually starts to travel and she plans her trips. And, along the way, she learns very, very valuable lessons. I mean, she learned a lot of stuff and she shares it with you and she shares her experiences. She shares the good, the bad, the ugly. And she travels. And through her travels, she starts to realize that she doesn't need a man to make her happy and to make her fulfilled. Travel was her passion. And she liked to do it herself. She liked to go with other people, but she did not need a man. And she actually had a quote in there that actually really, really touched me. I have it on a paper here, so I'm going to read it. It says, "A weight was lifted when I stopped harboring resentment and started being grateful for my life as it was instead of fixating on what I needed and wanted to change." Wow. You can apply that to so much. I'm not happy with my weight. And I'm fixated on the fact that I am this weight. But would a proverbial weight in my head be lifted if I just accepted who I am, started to love who I am? I'm not overly impressed with my job right now. And I do tend to fixate it on it. Would it be easier if I left it go and not harbor resentment? Would it be easier for life? And would good things come to me once I actually did that? Because she actually did let go of that resentment, and people started to talk about how they could actually see changes in her mental outlook, in the way she looked, because she was a much happier person. She was more settled. She was happier. I don't know. That one really touched me. Anyway, back to the book. So this lady actually did her 12 trips. She actually did more than 12 in the year. And throughout that year, she found out that her job that she always thought she wanted wasn't making her happy. She figured out ways to make money and do other things. And she said, you know what? This is what I want to do for my life. And that's where the book ends. I mean, she actually, and that's where the book ends. She actually says, you know what? It's not a bad thing to change dreams, change direction. And so she left the book with her changing direction into more travel, into more of that lifestyle. This was a good solid book. It was a good 3. I would highly recommend it. It is a good book. It talks about travel. It's not really a travel guide as in, you want to go to this place and that place. She does talk about where she visited and what she did, but this is more of a discovery of the love of traveling, discovery of the love of herself. Good book. Good book. So yes, 3 good books. Yes, I'm on a roll. This is 2 weeks of good books. I am so happy. Anyway, those are the 3 books. If you have read them, let me know. If you haven't read them, let me know which ones you want to read. And if you're picking any up, let me know that too. No excuses.